Hey guys, welcome back to today's lesson over equivalent ratios. Today's objective is that you should be able to identify an equivalent ratio. Are the ratios 8 to 18 and 1 to 2 equivalent? So we're going to start out by writing the ratio 8 to 18 as a fraction. And 1 to 2 as a fraction. So we're looking to see, are these equal or are they not? Sometimes you can simply look and say, okay, from 8 down to 1, I would be dividing by 8. So therefore, is 18 divided by 8 2? Of course, obviously, no, that is not equal. Another way, which you may find to be a little easier, is to simply cross multiply the two. So that means do 8 times 2, which is 16, and then do 18 times 1, and it doesn't matter which order you do those, which is 18. So is 16 equal to 18? No, it is not. So therefore, the ratios are not equivalent. Are the ratios 2 to 18 and 1 to 3 equivalent? So we're going to check by writing 2 to 18 and 1 to 3. We want to know, are those equal? So to go from 2 down to 1, we would divide by 2. But is 18 divided by 2 going to give us 3? No, it is not, which suggests that these two ratios are not equivalent. Again, we can also check by cross multiplying. In this case, we have 2 times 3, which is 6, and we have 18 times 1, which is 18. So is 6 equal to 18? No, it is not. So they are not equivalent. Pause your video at this time and try to solve this problem. Are the ratios 10 to 20 and 2 to 4 equivalent? Make sure you show your work to be able to prove how you are finding whether or not they are equivalent or not. So pause your video and give this one a try. Okay, so we have 10 to 20 and 2 to 4. So how could we go from 10 down to 2? Well, we could divide by 5. 10 divided by 5 is 2. So we would also have to divide by 5 on the bottom. 20 divided by 5 is indeed 4. So these are equivalent. Now, you can still check by cross multiplying the two. And I won't do this every time on every problem because you guys will get the hang of it. But I want you to know that you can do either way here. So we could do 10 times 4, which equals 40, and 20 times 2, which also equals 40. So 40 equals 40. That is true, right? So therefore, we have also supported that the two ratios are indeed equivalent. Pause your video and try this one. Are the ratios 2 to 1 and 18 to 9 equivalent? So 2 to 1 and 18 to 9. So how would we go from 2 to 18? Well, we could multiply by 9. So if we multiply by 9 on the top, we would also need to multiply by 9 on the bottom. So is 1 times 9 9? Yes, it is. So that would be equivalent. And if you cross multiplied the two, then you also done 2 times 9, which was 18, and 1 times 18, which was also 18, also supporting that the two ratios are equivalent. Okay, so in this problem we have some ratios, several correct answers, or could be correct answers, so you need to check all three of those answer choices to see if they are equivalent to the ratio 3 to 2. So let's set this up as 3 to 2, and let's check our first one of 14 to 1. So I find it easier to cross multiply, but as you know, that's not the only way to determine it. 3 times 1 gives me 3, and 2 times 14 gives me 28, which tells me that no, that is not an equivalent ratio to 3 to 2. Now I will check the next one. So 3 to 2, is it equal to 24 to 16? Now this one I find a little bit easier to just go ahead and figure out what I'm multiplying by. So 3 to 24. How do I go from 3 to 24? Well, I multiply by 8. And if I multiply by 8 on the bottom, 2 times 8 is indeed 16, which tells me that this is an equivalent ratio to 3 to 2. Now we have to check our last one. So we have 3 to 2 again, and 30 to 12. Okay, so I know that to go from 3 to 30, I would have to multiply by 10. But when I multiply by 10 on the bottom, 2 times 10 is not 12, which tells me that 30 to 12 is not an equivalent ratio to 3 to 2. Okay, another very similar problem. Select all the ratios equivalent to 1 to 2. How about you pause your video here and see if you can come up with the correct answers. Remember, this is a select all question, so there could be more than one correct answer. So we have 1 to 2, and the first one to check is 5 to 10. So this seems pretty easy. 1 to 5. Well, I would do that by multiplying by 5. So if I multiply by 5 on the bottom, 2 times 5 is indeed 10, which tells me that 5 to 10 is equivalent to 1 to 2. Now I will check the next one. So 1 to 2 again. And this time we have 22 to 20. Just for the sake of remembering, let's cross multiply this time. We have 1 times 20, which is 20, and 2 times 22, which is 44. Is 20 equal to 44? Of course not. So that one is not equivalent to 1 to 2. Now let's check our last one. We have 1 to 2 and 8 to 16. So I know I can go from 1 to 8 by multiplying by 8. And if I multiply by 8 on the bottom, 2 times 8 does indeed give me 16. So therefore this is also an equivalent ratio to 1 to 2. Pause your video and try this very next question. So we have 15 to 21, and we're checking to see if it's equivalent to 45 to 63. So again, you're free to cross multiply, or if you can figure out how you go from either 21 to 63 or 15 to 45, you're welcome to use that method as well. So I know that 15 multiplied by 3 gives me 45. So I need to check and see, is 21 times 3 63? And we can see that 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 times 2 would be 6, which would be 63. So yes, this is an equivalent ratio to 15 to 21. Now I need to check my next one. So I will start with 15 to 21 again, and this time I'm checking for 30 to 42. So again, you can cross multiply if you wish, or you can figure out, how did I go from 15 to 30? Well, 15 times 2 is 30. So if I multiplied by 2 on the top, then I should be able to multiply by 2 on the bottom. 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 times 2 is 4, which is 42, which tells me that one is also an equivalent ratio. Now we still have one more to check, so let's start back with our 15 to 21. And we're checking for 20 to 28. So this one, 15 times nothing is going to give me 20, at least not a whole number. So in this particular case, you may simplify the fractions if you would prefer to simplify them. Let's try simplifying. That would be some good practice. How can we simplify 15 and 21? What number will go into both of those? Well, they're both divisible by 3. So 15 divided by 3 would give us 5, and 21 divided by 3 would give us 7. Okay, let's try 20 and 28. What number would go into both 20 and 28? Well, the 4 would go into both. So 20 divided by 4 is 5, and 28 divided by 4 is 7. If we simplify, we got the same thing, or we could cross multiply, or even have cross multiplied up here. 5/7 is indeed equal to 5/7. So this one was also an equivalent ratio. So all 3 answer choices were correct. Okay, let's try this one. We have 4 parents to 9 children. And 8 parents to 18 children. And we want to know, are those equal? Well, I can look and see that from 9 to 18, I can multiply by 2. So that should be true on the top if they are equivalent. So 4 times 2 is indeed 8. So are these ratios equivalent? Yes, they are. Go ahead and pause your video and try this one on your own. We have 10 forks for every 3 spoons, and 16 forks for every 5 spoons. Let's go back and not forget our cross multiplying that we can also do. So we would do 5 times 10, which is 50, and we could do 3 times 16. You may have to go out to the side if you can't do that in your head. 3 times 6 is 18, and we're carrying a 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So that equals 48. So is 50 equal to 48? No, it is not. Therefore, these 2 ratios are not equivalent. Pause your video and give this one a try. You have 25 tons in 30 minutes and 5 tons in 6 minutes. We will cross multiply again on this one. So we have 25 times 6. Think about having 6 quarters. You would have 125, or $1.25 if you were talking quarters. And then 5 times 30. And we know that 5 times 3 is 15, and we just need to add that 0. So is 125 equal to 150? No, it is not. So those are not equivalent ratios. That completes today's content. If you would, please click on the exit slip found at the very bottom of your class notebook. Click on that exit slip, answer those questions just to be sure that you are ready to move on. If you do not do well on that exit slip, please reach out for some additional videos. I'll be glad to get you some of those just as a remediation, or go back and watch this video. After you complete your exit slip problems, then you will click on the assessment and complete your assessment form. Thank you. Have a great day.